Infusion Mobile 3.0. Admin. The name of the currently logged in user now displays at the top right of the home screen, as well as the user a task is associated with and the user a calendar event is associated with. Task and calendar events will now only display for the logged in user if the corresponding profile View Team Member Records setting is set to No. A list of logged in users can now be seen from the Logged in Users menu. This requires the user's profile to have the Other Settings, Can View Logged in Users option selected. This is only available from version 3.1.8 onwards of the server. Users can be logged out from this screen. A session timeout for users can now be set. Users will be automatically logged out after this time if there is no activity in their session. The value for this is set from under the Settings, Mobile Site Settings menu. The default is 3,600 seconds or 1 hour. Customers. The contact management contact types in Infusion are now available in Infusion Mobile when a note is added against a customer. The phone, mobile, email and date of last sale data for a customer are now displayed on the front screen of the customer's account. There is now a toggle option to show or not show the auto-created contact management events generated in Infusion in the customer notes screen. Customers can now be deleted in Infusion Mobile if there are no jobs, quotes or orders linked to their account. The delete option is available from within the customer account. A warning will be given if there are any linked items to the account. A copy of a charged invoice can now be emailed to the customer, the logged in user, and another manually specified recipient. Invoices. A logo can now be added to quotes and invoices sent from Infusion Mobile. The logo file can be set in the Settings, Registered Company menu. Location email addresses in Infusion are now available as a recipient option when emailing quotes and invoices. The cost of a product on a draft quote or invoice can now be edited. The profile setting of Edit Cost When Added needs to be selected for this to be available. The sale price for the item will display in red if it has no cost. The header notes added to quotes and invoices in Infusion Mobile now display on the emailed layouts. Jobs. Serial tracked items now sync from Infusion Mobile Jobs back to Infusion. For this to work, the product must be set to track sold serial numbers only in Infusion. The serial number is entered manually. If a customer item is linked to a job in Infusion, data for it is now synced to Infusion Mobile. These details are displayed near the bottom of the job screen in Infusion Mobile. An option has been added to filter the list of jobs based on their status. This can be done from the Jobs filter menu. Order numbers on jobs now sync between Infusion and Infusion Mobile. If an order number is entered against a job in Infusion, it will sync to the main screen for a job. If an order number is to be entered against a job in Infusion Mobile or it is updated, then the job will need to be edited before text can be entered into this field. If a new job is created in Infusion, the tech it is assigned to is now emailed notification of the job when it syncs up to Infusion Mobile. The email address mobile@infusionsoftware.co.nz may need to be whitelisted in the user's email software to stop these from going to the spam folder. There is a setting to turn this on or off under the Settings Jobs menu. If a user is logged in and has a labour group set under their account, only product codes in that group will display from the drop-down box when adding labour to a job. If no product group is selected, then all labour codes will display. There is now a profile setting to hide the sell rates and total sell value on job costs. When creating a new job in Infusion Mobile, the additional delivery addresses for the customer are now available to select. There is now a Jobs menu option called Unsynced that displays all unsynced job costs. There is now a profile setting option called Show Jobs on Opening Screen that, when selected, will display the job list screen as the first screen when the user logs in. The contacts and their contact details set in a job in Infusion now display in the job screen of Infusion Mobile. There is now a layout called Proforma that can be printed from the job screen. The layout is essentially the same as the invoice layout, but is titled Proforma Invoice and has a reference to the job. It lists all the costs currently on the job along with text. Other updates. Geotagging and nearby options are now available. See the version 3 support notes for more details. The Clear Data button in Infusion Mobile now prompts for confirmation before clearing the data. A user can now log in under a new session if a session is already logged in. Doing so will log the other session out. A warning and confirmation message will display. Invoice and job lists now show a green timer at the top right of the icon in the respective list to indicate a timer is still running for them. Custom text can now be accessed from note and narration fields in Infusion Mobile. Products. The location delivery details in Infusion now sync to Infusion Mobile. Products that are set to stop all sales in Infusion will now not display in Infusion Mobile. Purchase orders. Purchase orders can now be emailed to the supplier, the logged-in user, or a manually specified recipient. For the supplier, the first purchase order email address set up under the email links in Infusion is used. If no address is set, the main email address is used. If no email address is available, the Infusion Mobile user is notified this on the screen when emailing. Products and lines can now be added to purchase orders in Infusion Mobile. These sync back to Infusion. Notes associated with the purchase order on Infusion Mobile sync back to the Notes tab of a purchase order in Infusion. When a job or stock purchase order is created, the user can now select the location it is for. There is now a purchase order's profile setting called Use Current User Location that will set the location for a purchase order to that of the user. The purchase order screen now by default only shows unsynced orders. There is a toggle option at the top of the screen to include synced orders. When a purchase order syncs to Infusion, it now comes through with a status of ordered. A credit purchase order for a purchase order already synced back to Infusion can now be created. The credit can be edited before it is synced. The credit number will be the original number followed by CR. A supplier account can now be set against a user account. When done, a purchase order created by the user will always use the selected account as the supplier. There is a purchase order profile setting called Auto Add MISC Code. This will automatically add the product code set under the MISC field of the Quote and Invoice Settings section to a new purchase order when it's being created. Purchase order numbers in Infusion Mobile are now created using the Purchase Order ID from within Infusion Mobile, followed by the text IM. There is now a profile option to hide the stock when creating a purchase order in Infusion Mobile. There's a profile option giving the user the ability to manually authorize purchase orders so they'll be synced in the next cycle. With this option selected, a sync option will display at the top of the purchase order. Select this to authorize the purchase order. Once done, the icon will display with the label of Cancel Sync. Selecting the icon in this state will unauthorize the purchase order from syncing. Not having this profile option selected will mean that any newly created pending purchase orders will automatically sync on the next cycle. Quotes. Quotes are now able to be synced back to Infusion. This is done by selecting the sync option when in the quote. A copy of the quote will stay in Infusion Mobile for the user's reference. A small tick will show next to the quote icon for the quote in the list if it has been synced. The quote number used in Infusion Mobile is synced back to the reference field on the quote in Infusion. Margin percent and costs for quotes and invoices now display if the Invoices and Quotes profile setting of Show Invoice Costs is selected.